Beautiful. When the actions that we take each day are conscious and intentional, we begin to develop habits that nurture our whole being, that awaken within us that we are both fully divine and fully human. So whatever deepens self-realization, whatever shifts awareness from something's wrong to something wonderful, whatever furthers your longing and its fulfillment, whatever challenges your unchallenged beliefs, whatever shakes your foundation, or as Jesus put it in the Gospel of Thomas, whatever provokes and disturbs you. Sometimes we need to stir the pot to further our journey. Whatever leads you to unfamiliar paths, act intentionally from these things. That's how the authors Linda Martella Whitsett and Alecia Whitsett begin chapter 5 of This Life is Yours. It is an invitation to explore daily practices that anchor us in wholeness, that strengthen our capacity for further and deeper intentional action. And the beautiful thing is that it doesn't require somehow carving out hours in your day to make this happen. It can begin with as little as 15 minutes every day. That's the more important part of this, is not necessarily the length of time, but it's every day. And this small investment can lead to meaningful transformation. And in fact, that's what our purpose is, our mission is, to support people in transforming lives. So this begins us in a very intentional way on that path. That transformation that shows up as greater resilience, sometimes not easily measurable, but definitely will serve us in the long run. A deeper capacity to cope. Perhaps it's increased optimism or hope that now fills the thoughts and the emotions of your being, or ultimately a stronger agreement with wholeness as the truth of who you are. To be more and more awake to the fact and the truth that we are indeed innately whole. These practices become especially important when we're navigating those difficult conditions, and they will show up. I don't care how spiritual you are, you're going to get a chance to practice with the difficult things in life. Whether it's illness or emotional exhaustion or relationship struggles or financial concerns, those seasons of life are often steeped in stress and uncertainty. Yes? At least that's been my experience anyway. And while these practices are important in those times, it's equally important to practice when things feel steady, when life seems to be flowing along. When we can do it in those moments, then they continue to strengthen us. They nourish our mental and physical and emotional well-being so that when the challenges show up, we're ready in a greater way to meet them. Many of you I know have been on a spiritual path for some time, years, decades, and may have already integrated some of these practices that I'm going to share already in your life. And yet, with 26 possibilities, 26 offerings that they give, there's still room to stretch, to experiment, and to perhaps try something new. Especially if you find yourself in that place where, like, I already know all that. I do all that. This is the time to see if you can't stir the pot just a little bit and see what else there might be for you to discover. So in this small window we have this morning, all I'm going to do is introduce them. Katie has created a beautiful handout that has the details. This section's called Practices A to Z, so there's one for every letter of the alphabet. So don't worry about trying to write them down or really pay, close attention. I'd rather you just simply listen and notice what might stir within you. It might be what sparks curiosity. It might be something that gives you a sense of, yeah, that brings me a possibility of relief. I want you to pay attention to the things that you might be resisting or even longing for. Perhaps one method will resonate with you and you'll work with practicing it every day. Or it's equally okay to feel called to experiment with a different one each day. If you like that spice of variety, then you can try out different ones to see how they resonate with you. There's no perfect way to doing this. There's only intentional practice. So here we go. You ready? I just want you to listen to these. So A is affirmations. Foundational concept here at Unity for any of you who've been around, but it is reading, reciting statements of truth. It might be as simple as, I am whole, and anything that, looks otherwise is not the truth of me. Or, you can use both affirmation and denials. The second is breath. And there are so many breathing practices out there, I'm not even going to begin to try and steer you in any one given way. But I'll tell you what, when I'm feeling a lot of stress, one of the things I do, and I want you to practice with me this morning, okay? It's real easy. You're going to inhale, arms go up, they can go straight up, exhale, arms go down. That's it. Some people like to bend, or you can move in different ways, but just to take a few moments, the physical as well as the breath, at least for me, helps sort of begin to dissipate some of the stress that's been built up. C is for creativity. So it's just an invitation, if you don't already have that in your life, to find some way for 15 minutes to engage in some kind of artistic expression, a hobby, whatever it might be that feels like that would be a way to sort of redirect where your attention is being focused. The D is for devotion. So to read something inspirational, something that stirs within you. Some people use the Daily Word, which we read on Sundays here, a little booklet that you can get if you're not familiar with it. You can just go Google it, and it has a nice word for the day, a reading, and then a scripture that supports that. One that I'm going to be working with that doesn't require you to add any more time or shift any more time because it's something you do already, is to eat mindfully. To take one meal a day and set aside watching something, reading something, listening to something, engaging, on the phone, whatever other activities we seem to like to do and just simply be fully present with the food that you're eating for your meal. And what I like to do, I've done this sporadically, but I'm going to do this like one meal a day to really get into it a little deeper, is to think about all that had to happen in order for that food to arrive at your table. The sun, the earth, the rain, the growing, somebody had to attend to it, somebody has to, and particularly with plant-based food, has to, take it up, process it, it's got to be transported. It's all of the things that it's taken for that food to get to your plate. And to really pay attention to every taste, every texture sensation, the chewing process, the swallowing. To really take a lot of intentional awareness to every part of what you're eating. And I've heard that if you do this, you eat a lot less. So just, that you get fuller faster because you've given your body also a chance to catch up to what you're putting in, where it says, okay, I've had enough. Where if you're eating quickly and not mindfully, you can tend to eat more than what you probably need. At least I'm going to say that's true for me. So the F is for forgiveness. And the authors offer one. There's so many different forgiveness practices out there too, but they offer one that I think is pretty easy, that you don't have to go study anything. But when you're sitting with something that feels a hurt, a betrayal, an upset that you're having a hard time navigating through, this is called the Sedona method. So it's just to sit with that, not try and change it or move it, but to begin to ask yourself, can I let this feeling go? And if you're having a hard time getting to a yes for that, will I eventually let this feeling go? Or asking, when will I be ready to let this feeling go? So not doing it, but just being willing to say, is it possible that I can move beyond this? And seeing what comes back from your own feedback. But again, go and find some other ones. If that's an issue, that's a challenge that's showing up in your life right now, that's a great one to go and practice. The G is for gratitude. And again, lots of ways to include gratitude into your life. H is for heart opening. And I would suggest, if this is something that's new and it's sort of resonating with you, to explore, go to a website called heartmath.com. And you'll see a lot of research and methods in which you can bring your heart into greater coherence and openness for life. I is for imagination. This is a great one to do if you've got grandkids or young children. It's just to play like a child. You know, whether it's playing jacks or skipping rope or daydreaming, coloring, but to set 15 minutes where you just are going to play as if or with a child. She talks about japa meditation for her J, and this is a Hindu practice of meditation using a mantra. So mantra you may be more familiar with. Mantra is just a word or a short phrase that you use as part of meditation time to sort of keep you centered in the present moment. And if you find yourself drifting off, it's the word that brings you back, whether it's love or peace or you know, I am whole, or whatever you can use, you know, whatever phrase or word resonates with you. The K is for kindness. So maybe it's you're going to set time each day to do something kind, whether it's to call or write a letter or an email or some way, or you're going to, you know, when you're out shopping, for that 15 minutes in the grocery store, you're going to smile at every person who walks by you. And you're going to look them in the eye and you're going to smile at them. Or you're going to be extra kind to the people who are working there to support you. The L is for learning. So it's about maybe reading something that inspires curiosity, that challenges you to maybe look at something a different way. It doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual, but it's something that causes you to have to stretch and either bringing new information into your awareness or changing how you might be perceiving the way the world is going. M is for mindfulness, and again, mindfulness and eating mindfully, you could combine those two, but that's really, mindfulness is really just about being present in the moment without trying to alter it or to think about the future or to think, just being fully present in any given moment. And that's a beautiful thing to do in her N practice, which is nature connection. So she's just suggesting that, you know, you get out somewhere, even if it's your own backyard, or find a little park and, you know, take your shoes off and put your feet in the grass or hug a tree or just be out in nature, which I think brings us things that we can't necessarily get when we're indoors. So maybe you say, for 15 minutes, I'm just going to go sit out in the grass, or I'm going to go walk around a little park near my house. The O is for Om chanting. Now, you probably have heard, you know, it's kind of a parody now when you see people and they've got their position going and they do Om. But Om is an ancient practice in many Eastern spiritual, what's the word I want to use? Traditions. Thank you for that. And they believe that the sound of Om is the sound of oneness. It's the sound of unity. It's the vibration of peace. And there's been some studies done on this especially there's many monks who use this as part of their daily practice, that it has been shown in research to improve health, to boost mental clarity and emotional well-being. And it opens up in a way that often people report that they can have a greater spiritual insight into what's going on in their life. The P is for prayer. And, that is something that's certainly integral within Unity, too. And I'm going to suggest something to you if you've never done it. Call Silent Unity for prayer. I know Norma said she's on a first-name basis with many of the people up there that work the prayer lines. But not just send an email, which you can do now, too, through silentunity.org, but that is the prayer arm of Unity. There's somebody there 24/7, so call them. Just share something that you'd like prayer support around and receive that prayer, and you could maybe even use that prayer then in your 15-minute practice time as you move forward the rest of the week. The Q, they suggest, is for quest, or the subtitle is Become an Explorer. So this is all about, if you're pretty content and complacent in life right now and things are going pretty good, this might be one where you want to sort of push the edges of your comfort boundary, is what this is inviting you to do. It may be a physical challenge, or it may be some kind of inner quest, but it is something that stretches you, that puts you sort of on that edge of fear and invites you to go just a few steps further. The hour is for rest, and rest is important, especially if our lives are structured as such right now where that's challenging to find those windows. And I'm talking about not just sleep at night, but having a period of rest during the day, a 15-minute period of rest. I've become a really good power napper. And it's not really even nap, because I don't usually go to sleep. And you can set a little alarm so you don't have to even worry about how long you're out, but just to close your eyes, to breathe, to sort of check out for a minute of all of the other activities of life has some really phenomenal benefits. At least that's been my experience. The S is for singing. I know some of you love to do that already, and that may be a part of your life, but for those who maybe said, well, no, I'm not going to sing in a choir, just singing on your own, whatever music makes you feel up and happy and energized, or helps you to calm yourself if that's the state that you're looking to have. And this has also been shown through studies that singing releases those feel-good chemicals. When you're singing, there's different chemicals that get released into the body. The T is for Tonglen, which is a compassion practice. It originates in Buddhism, and there's a lot. We've done some series on compassion. So to take that 15 minutes and use it to have compassion for yourself or for others, to be in that flow of it. On the handout, there's one website, but I also really like Tara Brach. Tara Brach's done a lot of work on compassion. And you can Google any of these things. You'll find if you just do compassion, several of these websites will show up. She's got a lot of good meditations, little articles that you can read about it and go deeper into that. The U is for unpractice. So this is really about letting go of some unhelpful, unfulfilling habit that you might have in your life and replacing it with something that's more life-affirming. So maybe it's, instead of getting on Facebook, I'm going to take those 15 minutes and I'm going to do something, pick one, and I'm going to do that with my time. We're almost there. Visioning. So this is a process where you really intentionally look at getting clear about what it is that you'd like to call forward in your life. If our thoughts are prayers, what is it that we want our thoughts, our feelings to be aligned with, to bring that into our awareness? And I know Haley did a visioning workshop last December. We've done those occasionally, but you can either write it out. Some have created a vision board, so it's more visual with pictures and stuff. But to really get clear about and spend that time fleshing out what it is that you'd like to call forward in your life. And in this case, I said you can kind of mix and mash these. What studies have shown is if you're going to work with a visioning process, you need to do it consistently for 21 days. So if you're going to pick that one, it's like I'm going to do it for the next 21 days because it takes that long for it to begin to get into all of your different conscious levels and be well seated there. The W is for journaling, so writing, using your ability to write, whether it's just doing a mind dump onto the page or whether it's journaling about specific things, using that as your tool. I like this one for X, and she calls it What If X? So this is a little game that you play with yourself. So what if, and then you begin to make up the answers in your imagination in a positive way. We're really good at the default of what if it all goes wrong. So this is sort of what if it all goes right? What would that look like? I used to do this when I was trying to figure out where I was being called next. It's like, so what if money were no object, time were no object, talent were no object? All the things that we say, well, I can't do that because. What if all those things went away? What would that look like? What would that feel like? And to spend some time really imagining that. The Y is for yoga. And there's plenty of yoga opportunities to practice, whether it's going to a specific class or there are probably millions of videos out there that you can get on YouTube and be guided with one of those if it's unfamiliar to you. And then finally, the Z, she calls zoom in. So this is really about carving that space where you won't be interrupted at all for those 15 minutes to focus on a particular interest or talent or to read or to meditate, but that you are going to intentionally put the phone away in another room where you won't hear it. You're going to, sort of, as best you can, block out the noises of the outside. If you're indoors, put on some music and put it in your ear so that you are just totally focused on that one thing to help you practice what that feels like to do that. And that's more and more difficult these days, I found. There's just a lot of noise that goes on in our world. So to try and to put all that away and just be focused is a practice that can really help your ability to stay more centered when you're in other parts of life where it is kind of noisy and distracting. Okay, I'm gonna take a little rest. That's a lot. So the invitation here is not to practice this to perfection. It's not about striving. It's really about just showing up. It's not about fixing yourself, but remembering yourself. Every intentional act becomes an agreement with your wholeness. And one small sacred choice a day will lead to a transformation. It seems like it happens all at once, but it's really one small choice a day until it becomes the experience of your life. So as we move into our time of meditation, that time what we take in the service, just for the next 3 or 4 minutes, just to bring our awareness in, what I'm going to invite you to do today as we move into that time where we want to listen with our inner ears and see with our inner eyes, is to just see again where you are being called or where you are feeling resistance to any of these practices, and just allow your inner guidance to show you where you can most deeply move into a greater and greater awareness of your innate wholeness. So once again, we just start with the breath. As we are focused and aware of the breath, we are in the present moment, for that is the only place the breath exists. As we close our eyes or just soften our gaze, it allows us to bring our attention to this inner space of our being. And see if you can't move that attention to your heart center, that place in the area of your chest, that energetic center that is our divine bridge between our humanity and our divinity, that is the bridge to the all that is, to God, to the realm of spirit. And imagine that you're almost breathing now in and out of this heart space. And with your attention, it becomes more and more energized, growing brighter and larger. And in this space, just be the observer. Just notice as these words are mentioned, what seems to move that energy even greater, what seems to resonate with it, whether it be affirmations or breath, creativity, devotion, eating mindfully. Perhaps it's forgiveness or gratitude, or wanting to figure out how we can open our heart in greater ways and be in greater coherence. Your imagination may be calling you, or the practice of meditation using a mantra. Is it kindness or learning something new? Being more present with mindfulness, or being committed to be out in nature every day. Perhaps that sound of Om is calling you, or to be more consistent and receptive in your prayer life. Are you being called to become an explorer, to go on a quest, or to rest? To sing, whether it's in the shower, in your car, or to practice compassion. Perhaps this is the moment to begin to unpractice some habit and replace it with something new. You might be called to get really clear and intentional about a vision, and perhaps even use journaling to help bring greater clarity to that. You can even do this practice of what if to help you expand that vision in the awareness that all things are possible as we believe that they are. Perhaps your body and your spirit are inviting you to try yoga, or simply be fully present to zoom in on some aspect of your life. Just breathe and be open to whatever is arising in you right now. And as you say yes, seat that with a commitment to begin today, to carve out 15 minutes this day as a way to move you closer and closer to being fully awake to both your humanity and your spiritual nature. And as you take another deep breath, begin to bring your awareness back to this time, to this place. Feel the chair supporting you, sounds in the room. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. So, as I said before, that the invitation that we're offering is not about perfection. It is, as the word implies, just being willing to practice. Not necessarily striving or having a goal about it, but just being willing to show up. It's not about trying to fix yourself. Rather, it's more about remembering yourself. And every intentional act becomes an agreement with your wholeness, one sacred choice at a time. You know, based on my own experience, I recognize that when we're steeped in stress, grief, uncertainty, disappointment, a message of wholeness can feel difficult to embrace, to accept. This idea that there is nothing missing or wrong or broken about you or your life can feel far removed from the experience that you're having. You can even point to and convince others of all the evidence of what feels lacking or painful or unresolved. And I'm not suggesting that you ignore or deny or discount any of that, because it is a part of your real experience. So spiritual practice is not about pretending that it's not there or some kind of concerted effort to make it go away. And I want you to hear this. It is creating space for something deeper than stress to have a voice. You hear that? It is about creating the space to put that at bay for just a few minutes and let a different voice have an opportunity to speak. And this is why small intentional practices, the authors remind us and recommend to us, have such a powerful capacity. Just 15 minutes a day can begin to interrupt the relentless momentum of stress, if that's a part of your life. It's like gently pressing a pause button, if you will, on the noise and the demands of life. So this week, your invitation is to choose one intentional action, one practice, as a sacred commitment to yourself. Not because you're broken and need fixing, but because there's something beautiful in you that's waiting to be strengthened, to be remembered, and to be expressed. And so for this week, let action be your prayer. Let your willingness become the movement, and trust that every small step taken intentionally is leading you home to the life that is already yours, one that is filled with love and light and life and peace. It is our opportunity to share of our financial good with our community. So in just a moment, the ushers are going to invite you to come up row by row so that you can be in that flow of giving and receiving. You can place your gift in the larger basket and then take an affirmation from the smaller basket to bless you this week. And even if you give electronically, which many people do, I would just invite you to come. There's cards that you can use, or just add your energy to the basket, knowing that you give through those ethers of technology that allow us to receive everything digitally these days. So whatever we're offering today, we take it into our hands, into our hearts, as we join together and bless it. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God. so as we go into this week, committed to one intentional practice a day, we go knowing our prayer for protection. We'll do it as call and response. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Together, wherever we are, God is, and all is well.